అయ్యి ఎవరు నాకు ఎవ్వరు రిప్లై ఇవ్వలేదు. నేను అడిగినా కూడా వాళ్ళని ఫీడ్‌బ్యాక్. నేనైతే కంటిన్యూస్‌గా ఆల్మోస్ట్ 11 నుంచి ఇప్పటి వరకు క్లాస్ కంటిన్యూ చేస్తా ఉన్నాను. ఆల్మోస్ట్ ఎవరు చరిత, ఆహ్, భువన తేజ వీళ్ళందరూ ఫీడ్‌బ్యాక్ ఇచ్చారు. యెస్ సార్ వి కెన్ స్టార్ట్ అని. అందుకు నేను స్టార్ట్ చేసిన. ఆ లింక్ పోయినట్లు ఎవ్వరు చెప్పలే. ఇప్పుడు 5 మంది ఉన్నారు. అది నేను ఒక పని చేస్తాను. అది కంటిన్యూ చేస్తే ఏముంది. ఇప్పుడు ఒకసారి నువ్వు నువ్వు చూసి చెప్పగలవా లింక్? నేను ఫోన్ చేస్తే ఎత్తలే ఆ అబ్బాయి మురళి. ఎవరు ఎవరు? ఓకే, ఓకే, రైట్ రైట్ రైట్. Yeah, Murli. What happened, Murli? They were all, see, they said, yes, sir, we can start. That's why I started. Assuming that it is screen, the signal is on. I was continuously lecturing for last 2 hours. Nobody gave me any feedback, any reply. చెప్పాలి కదా నాకు. నేను అనేది అంటే అది మార్చేసిన కదా. ఐ హావ్ కరెక్టెడ్ ఇట్ అని చెప్పిన నీకు. రిఫ్రెష్ కాలేదా? ఇప్పుడు ఏమైనా చూసి చెప్పగలవా నాకు? ఇప్పుడు 6 మంది వ్యూవర్స్ ఉన్నారు మీ వాళ్ళు. వాళ్ళకి ఎట్లా వస్తుంది? లేలే, కాన్కరెంట్ వ్యూవర్స్ అంటే ఆల్రెడీ చూస్తున్నారు వాళ్ళు. కాన్కరెంట్ వ్యూవర్స్ అని వచ్చింది నాకు ఇక్కడ. 5 మంది ఉన్నారు ఇప్పుడు. వాళ్ళు నాకు చెప్పాలి కదా మురళి. 2 అవర్స్ నేను నాన్ స్టాప్ లెక్చర్ ఇస్తేనే పోయినా. కాల్ చేయాలా మురళి? ఎందుకంటే నా కాన్సన్ట్రేషన్ స్లైడ్ మీద ఉంటుంది కదా. నెక్స్ట్ టైం జస్ట్ ఒక కాల్ ఇచ్చినాం అనుకో, అది క్లారిటీ ఉంటుంది మనకి. హలో, యా టెల్ మీ. గుడ్ ఆఫ్టర్నూన్. యా టెల్ మీ అల్కా. There are about 7 students concurrently viewing now. You are not able to see, right? 8 are there now. 8 students are there. Still, it was showing waiting, but nobody replied. You should have at least given me a call or an SMS now. Continuously 2 hours. 2 hours I gave a lecture. No, no, no. He simply messaged, but my concentration was on presentation. I didn't see the message. He should have called me at least. Phone call. No problem. Now there are 10 viewers. Can you check up now and tell me? Just call me, huh? Call me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hello, Murli. Hello. Tell me, Murli. ఇప్పుడు 11 మంది ఉన్నారు ఇక్కడ. చూడు, నా క్యామ్ ఆన్ చేస్తాను ఇప్పుడు. చూడు, ఈజ్ మై వాయిస్, మై ఫేస్ ఈజ్ విజిబుల్. visible, huh? Okay, so what we'll do, we'll take 2 minutes break and then we'll resume. Okay, okay. So friends, we'll take 3 minutes break and then we'll resume the class. Friends, welcome back to this session. I hope my voice is audible now. So without waiting much, we'll straight away start the class now. So in fact, I didn't notice that, the stream was not live. So I've continued with my lecture for almost 2 hours now. Never mind. So as I told you, we are still struggling with this technology. So let's straight away move to the PowerPoint slide, right? Okay. So I hope it is visible to you. I hope now this time it's visible. Is everybody there or anybody is there? There's no feedback from anybody. Anybody is there? Can we start the class? There are about 11, 12 students. Nobody's replying. Our 2 minutes, 3 minutes break is over. Hello. Is it visible now? వాయిస్ వినిపిస్తుందా? అది ఎవరు రిప్లై ఇస్తలేరు అందుకు. లైవ్ చాట్లో లేవు అందుకు. నేను క్యాన్ వి స్టార్ట్ క్యాన్ యూ సీ ద వీడియో అంటే ఎవరు రిప్లై ఇవ్వలేదు అందుకు. అగైన్ 1 అవర్ నెక్స్ట్ 1 అవర్ వరకు నేను క్లాస్ తీసుకుంటే ఇలాగే జరిగింది అనుకో. ఇప్పుడు వాళ్ళ నుంచి ఫీడ్బ్యాక్ ఏం లేదు అందుకు వాళ్ళ నుంచి వ్యూవర్స్. నువ్వు చూడగలుగుతున్నావా? అలా కాదు. ఆ లైవ్ చాట్లో వాళ్ళు నేను ఇచ్చిన క్వశ్చన్స్కి రెస్పాండ్ చేస్తే నాకు ఫీడ్బ్యాక్ ఉన్నట్టే కదా రియల్ టైంలో. ఇస్తలేరు ఎవరు. అంటే లేనట్టున్నారు ఎవరు, అట్లా లాగిన్ చేసి పోయినట్టున్నారు బ్రేక్ అది లంచ్కి. పెట్టారా? మ్మ్. లేదు అందుకు. సో కంటిన్యూ చేయాలా నేను? ఓకే రైట్. Friends, good afternoon to all of you. So we're going to start with our fourth session on research process or steps in research process. So now what we will do, we'll slowly get into the research process by its steps. So in the previous class, we had already seen what is called the definition of research, the applications of research, and of course, we have also seen what is called scientific method, various sources of knowledge. And then the last session was on the design of logic, how we can employ the concept of logic in order to understand the problems or in order to state the problems or formulate the problems and then arrive at an understanding. So now in this presentation, what we will do, we'll see the process of research, in the sense what are the steps involved in it. I will just present to you the overview of the process, the overview of all the research process, starting with step 1 and then step last. So in this slide you could see there are about 7 steps. There are totally 7 steps in doing research, but actually these number of steps keep changing from what you call the present the book to book. In some books there may be only 5 steps, in some other book there may be 6 steps, 8 steps, but I generally believe that there's all of them could be brought under these 7 steps mostly. So I hope my voice is audible to all of you. Is my voice audible to all of you? దిలీప్, నేను క్లాస్లో ఉన్నాను, 2 గంటల తర్వాత ఫ్రీ అవుతాను. రైట్ రైట్. ఫ్రెండ్స్, welcome back to our session on research methods in hospital management. Now, in the previous class, we had seen uh, in the unit 1, in which we started with what is called scientific method, and then we had seen the importance of doing research, and then we had also seen what is called definition of research, applications of research in management, and then what is called the sources of knowledge, and then finally what is called the design of logic. That was the last topic we had seen. So now, today, what we're going to see, this is the last topic in Unit 1 called the process of research. Now, there are various steps involved in the process of research, and I'm going to present to you the overview of all these steps. And then from next session, that is tomorrow, I'm going to start with step 1 more elaborately. And then today, we will only see the overview of the entire research process. So let's start with, and then you can also give me a phone call if you have any problem, or SMS, because I cannot see the live chat when PowerPoint presentation is on. So assessing relevant and existing knowledge is step 1 actually. Before that, in some textbooks, you might find selection of the topic as step 1. But here, starting with step 2, assuming that you have already chosen a topic. So what we will do, we'll go back to the textbook suggestion that selection of a topic is step 1, and then step 2 is assessing relevant and existing knowledge, and then step 2 is formulating concepts and prepositions. Step 3 is statement of hypothesis. Step 4 is design of research or research design, and then step 6 is acquiring empirical data. Step 7, analyze and evaluate data, and the last step is called providing explanations or stating new problems. So there are totally 7 steps in the screen, but one additional step which I am including, which is not seen in the screen, that is called selection of the topic. So assuming that selection of the topic is first one, and then we will slowly move with all these 8 steps, starting with step 1 called selection of a topic. So in this, we will have a separate presentation tomorrow. First session is going to be on step 1 elaborately, because in this session I'm only trying to show you the overview. So step 1 is selection of a topic. Step 2 is, there are two kinds of thinking. Just 1 minute. హలో రమేష్. హలో. వస్తున్నాయి, ఇప్పుడు రిప్లై ఇచ్చారు వాళ్ళు. నడుస్తుంది నడుస్తుంది నడుస్తుంది, మైక్ పాజ్ అవుతుంది, నీతో మాట్లాడుతున్నా. అది వాళ్ళు ఎవరు చెప్పలేదు రమేష్. వాళ్ళు ముందు ఒక నలుగురు ఎస్ఆర్ వీ కెన్ ప్రొసీడ్ అంటే వాళ్ళకి కనిపిస్తున్నట్లే కదా. తర్వాత పర్లేదులే. ఇప్పుడు ఒకటి ఏంటంటే, ఈ పిల్లలు ఇనిషియేటివ్ తీసుకోరు కదా పిల్లలు ఇనిషియేటివ్ తీసుకోరు కదా. హలో. హలో. తీసుకోవాలి కదా ఇనిషియేటివ్. అమ్మాయి నేను చెప్పిన 2 గంటలు నువ్వు చెప్పినాక మాట్లాడింది. బట్ అమ్మాయి బాధ్యత కదా, స్టార్టింగ్లోనే చెప్పాలి కదా వీఆర్ నాట్ సీయింగ్ అని. పర్లేదులే. ఒకటి సరే, ఇప్పుడు నేను అనేది అంటే మనం కూడా ఛాలెంజెస్ ఎదుర్కొంటున్నాము. ఇవన్నీ ఉంటాయి. నిన్నటి వరకు బాగా జరిగింది, నిన్న ఈవినింగ్ నుంచి ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ ఉన్నాయి. నేను అన్నీ ఫైండ్ అవుట్ చేసి ఫిక్స్ చేసుకున్న కూడా ప్రాబ్లం. వాళ్ళకి ఆల్రెడీ కనిపించినాక మళ్ళీ తర్వాత కనిపించలేదు అన్నంత తప్పు కదా. ఎనీవే, మనం ఏంటంటే ఇప్పుడు నేను కంటిన్యూ చేస్తున్న సెషన్ 2 o'clock వరకు. 2 o'clock వరకు లింక్ ప్రాబ్లం ఉండదు రమేష్. అసలు అది ఎస్ఎఫ్సిఎస్ అంటే యూట్యూబ్లో నాదే వస్తుంది, ఇంకా లింక్ అవసరం ఉండదు ప్రతిసారి. ఛానల్ కదా అది. 4 o'clock పెడదాం. ఓకే రైట్. Friends, sorry about that. So, selection of a topic is step 1, and there are two kinds of thinking that are possible in selection of a topic. What does it further mean? There are two kinds of students when it comes to selection of a topic. The first kind of students are having rational thinking, and the second one would be called creative thinkers. So there would be rational thinkers and creative thinkers. So you will always find these two kinds of students when it comes to selection of a topic. So I will try to elaborate that more on this in the next session, that is going to be tomorrow. Then you would know tomorrow whether you're a rational thinker or a creative thinker. And then Wait for a minute. I hope my voice is audible, because unless I know the feedback, I would be continuously talking without your uh, response. So please take initiative, send SMS if you have any problems, because I cannot see the live chat as I already told you. When I'm talking continuously using PowerPoint slides, I cannot see the live chat. So CC or anybody can take the responsibility, take the initiative of either calling me or sending an SMS. As of now, I assume that you don't have any problems with the video and the audio. So anyway, step one is called selection of a topic, in which the rational thinkers and creative thinkers are there. And then how to select a topic, I'll try to explain that more in the tomorrow's session. So now we will move on to step two. In step two, what we'll do, as it is aptly stated, called assessing existing and relevant knowledge. In step two, we have to identify various sources of knowledge and then why we should search for such knowledge. Because without knowing much knowledge about the topic that you are researching on, you will still be very premature in your understanding about that topic. Let's say, for example, if you want to conduct a research on COVID, and then how people are responding to this, without much of knowledge about it, you will not be able to move forward. So therefore, assessing existing and relevant knowledge about your research topic is a very, very crucial step. What we will do here, we'll try to see where are the sources of knowledge available, uh, in the sense what are online sources, what are offline sources, and then we will move on to step 3. In step 3, we must learn to formulate concepts and prepositions. Now, this is a very, very crucial step because it is so fundamental, in the sense you have to identify what are the main concepts that you want to study in your research process, research work. Now, concept technically defined as an abstract generalization of an observable phenomenon. Abstract generalization of an observable phenomenon. So any phenomenon that is being observed, you'll try to give a name to that, and that's what we call concept. For example, now we have a class going on. So instead of simply saying class, we can say online class. So online session. So, or you can even say online training. So that's the way we arrive at the concept or arrive at the name of the phenomena. So, but concepts are very abstract. Unless you study them, unless you research them, they will not become concrete definitions. So concepts must be converted into definitions. But in the beginning, since in step 3 we are only trying to identify what are the concepts. By the way, concepts, all, when you take a bunch of concepts together and connect them to each other, it is called a theory. So in other words, a theory consists of so many concepts, and I will elaborate with lot of examples in the next class, in the subsequent classes anyway, because tomorrow we are going to start with step 1 more elaborately. In fact, today we would have finished it, but for the lack of feedback from you, I didn't know that, last 2 hours I was continuously talking, presenting on these entire steps. So formulating concepts is so fundamental. And then next one is prepositions. What is a preposition? You must have definitely heard this word in the previous semester, with reference to what we call hypothesis. So preposition is a statement of assumption of relationship between two concepts. That's the way we define it. Preposition Preposition is a statement of assumption of relationship between the concepts. For example, if there are two concepts, how these two concepts are related to each other. And when you present it, it is called preposition. So there can be many prepositions. So in step 3, you have to identify a list of concepts and a list of prepositions. Once you are through with it, you can move on to the next one, called statement of hypothesis. I'm sure you're very familiar with this word hypothesis in the previous trimester. Hypothesis is a statement of assumption of relationship between two concepts which have a direction. So you know the meaning of hypothesis, but how different is it from preposition? Because for preposition also we said it's a statement of assumption of relationship between two concepts. The only difference is in hypothesis, you have to define what is that relationship. What is the direction of that relationship? So let us say that concept 1 and concept 2 are related. That's called preposition. But when it comes to hypothesis, concept 1 and concept 2 are positively related. That's called hypothesis. Or concept 1 and concept 2 are negatively related. So we are basically giving direction to a relationship when it is assumed. So that's the difference between preposition and hypothesis. So all our prepositions must be fine-tuned, then they become hypothesis. So what we will do in this step, we will try to see the importance of hypothesis and the characteristics of a good hypothesis. Then we will see various types of hypothesis, and then we will see how to formulate the hypothesis. And then from where do we find these hypotheses actually? Basically, they are found from the theories. So I will demonstrate that in one of the sessions. And then how to test these hypotheses. You know that in the types you would have seen what is called null hypothesis, alternative hypothesis, or research hypothesis. And then how do we test them with the help of statistics? For example, you have means difference test, testing two samples, or testing independent sample. You have all these possibilities. So testing assumptions of relationships, testing assumptions of association, testing variations, testing differences, testing predictions, so testing effects. So for all these, you have various type of statistics invented. And then in order to test hypothesis, you have to adopt hypothesis statistical tests that we will see in step 4 more elaborately. And then let's move on to step 5. It's a very, very crucial step. In step 5, by the way, before I move on to step 5, let's go back to once again step 4. In step 4, step 4 is all about hypothesis, as I told you. Hypothesis is considered to be the heart of research process. So if the heart is not functioning well, the entire research process comes to a standstill. Similarly, so if a hypothesis is not properly formulated, you will not be able to progress, or you will not know what type of statistics to adopt and test. By the way, the plural form of hypothesis is hypothesis, Theses. So you can have many hypotheses in your project reports. And since it's called the heart of the research process, the lifeline of your entire research activity is carried out through this step. So with that, we move on to step 5, which is called research design. So I'm just using some anatomical concepts to explain it so that it becomes easier for you to understand. Now, research design is called the skeletal of a research body, or it is also called the backbone of research process. So if the skeletal form is deformed, your entire body will be tilted. It doesn't have proper balance. So that's what, when the backbone has any problems, we'll not be able to stand well, and we'll not be able to walk well and function well. Same analogy is applicable here also. Research design is considered to be the backbone of your entire research process. It stands well when you are presenting your entire research work only if you have a good design adopted. So in this step, what we will see, we'll see the definition of it, we'll see its importance, and there are various types of research design which we need to study. For example, today, a lot of research institutions are conducting research on COVID-19 virus, coronavirus, you call it. And then, um, how are they doing it? They are using actually research designs, particularly experimental designs. So there are various types of designs people adopt, and then for given topics. So early days, it's very difficult to understand what are those types of designs. Theoretically, you might be familiar with, but when you're practicing, you would know exactly which type of design is suitable for which type of research problem that you have chosen. So we will anyway see the types of designs more elaborately. That's going to be a very lengthy session. And then we will move on to step 6. From step 6 onwards, it is going to be very exhaustive sessions, because step 6 onwards, it is going to be very practical. You have to do some hands-on, then only you'll be able to relate this subject to yourself. So what we will do, anyway, since this presentation is only an overview, tomorrow onwards we'll start with each step and then go very deep, elaborately, minutely into that step. So I know, remember, your feedback is most important, and then too in real time. If we give the feedback, we can have meaningful sessions. Now, as I told in the beginning, we are running only YouTube. Reason is backup is always better. All our audio, video files are updated real time. You can always download later on and listen to them. And then that's the advantage. Whereas in other services, you cannot again upload them on YouTube because the files will be bloated into GBs. So in lockdown situation, I don't think I can share those video files if I'm using other online meeting services. So I think this is the only best service I found, and that's the reason I'm not compromising with it. And I hope you'll also understand, except for the challenges like I'm not very comfortable with these technologies. In other contexts, people try that IT departments will establish, faculty members will only deliver it. But here, everything is me. I'm only the IT guy, I'm only running the show, I'm only giving the lecture. That's the reason some mistakes could happen, but I'm sure we are learning. We are not blaming anybody. So step 6 is such a crucial step. Here we will try to see what is called acquiring empirical data, how to actually acquire the data from the field so that we can run our hypothesis testing. So when we say empirical data, data is in the form of numbers. But actually today, data is of various types. That's what we are going to see in this topic. What is actually called data? Is it only numbers or is it also qualitative statements that people will make? All that descriptions people make about their products, about the services. For example, when a doctor asks a patient, how are you feeling this morning? The patient gives various qualitative answers, but that's also called data. So, but all the readings, the vital sign, vital organs, vital function readings, they're all in numbers actually. So, number data and qualitative data. So, qualitative data is called string data and then empirical data. But interestingly, today online services are using quite a lot of peculiarities of data. For example, you're all familiar with what is it called smileys and emojis on social networking. They're also actually data in one sense. So people click those emojis and smileys, attach them. That means they're conveying some message that is behind each of these symbols. So therefore, Amazon and Flipkart, all such online services, retail services, they are using this to collect information about how the customers are feeling. So feelings are expressed in the form of emojis and smileys, and then they're later on converted into numbers for statistical exercises. So we will see what is data, why is it so important, and then interestingly, we'll see what is called sources of data. Where do you find them? And then what are the methods of data collection? So methods are called conscious procedures adopted for collection of data. So what are those procedures that we will see in methods? And then followed by the tools. What are tools? Tools are called the instruments of data collection or devices for collection of data. So what are these instruments? For example, if you want to measure the room temperature, you have an instrument. For example, you want to measure atmospheric pressure, you have a temperature, you have something called barometer, and then there is something called hygrometer. Have you ever heard of this? Hygro. So what does this meter do? It also measures something. So that's another tool for measuring something else. Likewise, you have a centimeter scale to measure length, breadth, width, and height. All these are called tools actually. So we will try to see what are the tools that we need to collect data in our for our project reports or research reports, and then followed by the concept of measurement. It's a very important subject because this whole world is depending upon measurement. For example, you see every day on news you would see how many cases reported, how many people died, how many people recovered, how many people discharged. All those are numbers which are measurements of the progress. So what if the concept of measurement is not there? It would become very difficult for us to manage things. So plain simple statement is without measurement, we cannot manage anything. Without measurement, we cannot manage anything. So measurement is the centrality of management profession today. At least now it's going to be more forcefully realized that without measurement you cannot be a good manager. And then there is another topic called scales. Now these scales are called special measurements. And what we will do, we will see these scales were invented by some professors way back in the years, back in 60s only. So they've invented some special scales to measure certain psychological concepts. For example, temperature can be measured with a physical device. Atmospheric pressure can be measured with a physical device. Length of a table can be measured with a physical instrument. But how do you measure attitudes? How do you measure opinions? How do you measure feelings? How do you measure sentiments? How do you measure opinions? How do you measure values? But these are all so important psychological concepts. We make decisions based on these concepts, based on these psychological concepts. Even to invest in some stocks, you have to make psychological use of psychological concepts. You have a understanding that so and so stock is going to do well, and therefore you choose and invest in that. So what I'm trying to say is, concept of scales were invented, or various scales were invented for measuring attitudes, opinions, perceptions, sentiments, feelings, values, beliefs, and so on. So we will see in one of the classes more elaborately what are they, how we should adopt. For example, if you want to measure patient satisfaction, you must know patient satisfaction is an attitude. So how do you measure an attitude? So patient satisfaction is an example of an attitude. For example, employee satisfaction. Employee satisfaction is an example of attitude. So there are hundreds of attitudes. People have attitude towards boss, attitude towards hospitals, attitude towards colleagues. So there can be literally thousands of attitudes. So, but first of all, how to measure an attitude if you don't know? How do you capture that attitude in data form? And that's the reason some scales were invented. Similarly, perceptions. Let us say hospital climate. How is hospital atmosphere or climate? Climate is a perception. That's an example of perception. So how do you measure perceptions? You need certain special scales. So they were invented by some professors in the past. In one of those classes, I will very elaborately show you each of those scales. So with that, we move on to step, I think interestingly, there's one more point. In order to acquire empirical data, we also need sampling. You have already spent a lot of time in the previous semester understanding sampling, various types of sampling called probability sampling and non-probability sampling. So in one of those classes, we'll see more elaborately. But this time what we will see is that we will use sampling for selection of the sample. And then what are the straight methods of estimating the sample size, and then how to go about selecting that sample units, and then probability sampling, non-probability sampling, we'll see all of those, and then more applied form, and then how to acquire the data using all of them. That's going to be step 6. So with that we move on to step 7, but actually it should be called step 8. So step 7, otherwise called analyze and evaluate data. So analyze and evaluate data. So after the collection of the data, how are you going to analyze that and evaluate it? So we will see in one of the classes more elaborately, because in step 7, I am going to demonstrate one particular software for you, because I have never done that software before for MHM students. I was using statistical packages for different groups, different courses, different students. For faculty members, training program of faculty members, I would have used some other software. Whereas for students, I would have used some other software. So, but this time I'm going to use some software because of the, what I would say, online classes. Other softwares are not possible because they are very huge. That they capture a lot of bandwidth. You have to download them, install them. All would take huge time, or and then huge bandwidth. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to use some new software for your batch. I'm going to introduce that for the first time. And then in step 7, I will show you how to install that software. So how to analyze and evaluate the data. is going to be the heading. After the collection of the data, how to prepare a code book and a master sheet. These are something which we will see. Code book is like a guidebook and master sheet is the raw data sheet. More elaborately, we'll see how to prepare them because there are very practical subjects. So we have to learn to do that in step 7. And then how to, after collection of the data, how to enter the data in a master sheet with the help of a code book. And then what software applications you want to use. There are literally hundreds of softwares available today for statistical analysis. A lot of them today are freely available, and of course there are some commercial softwares also very expensive. So in one of the presentations I will give you a list of softwares and also tell you what type of softwares I am using over this last 30 years. Variety of softwares I've tried out. Some are wonderful, some are good, some are buggy still, and I've used some commercial ones, some licensed ones. Now I don't use any pirated versions. I will use always open source. So I'm going to show you what are those open source softwares available. So step 7 is going to be very, very crucial. We might spend something like, 7 to 8 sessions or roughly 10 sessions only on step 7. Very, very elaborately. I think we have a lot of work to do. And then how to analyze the data using these softwares. We will see that in step 7. And then what type of tables to be prepared, what statistical tests to be identified and applied, and what kind of graphs to be generated. You know that in statistics, in tables, you have univariate tables or bivariate tables or multivariate tables, or something called frequency tables, contingency tables, or cross tables, or trivariate tables. So you have variety of tables. What type of table you want to present in your research report, you must know there. Not only that, in order to test your hypothesis, you must know what type of statistics to apply. So you have variety of statistical tests to be applied. One is called descriptive statistics, and then another one is called inferential statistics. But which type of statistical test that you want to use in order to test your hypothesis? Followed by what type of attractive graphs that you want to present. By the way, pie charts are there, histograms are there, bar charts are there, line charts are there, interacting charts are there. One of my favorites is box plots, and then most frequently used for complicated data is called spider charts, or what they are called spider web charts. I use them because just with one chart, I can show the entire research study, research output, research results. That's a beautiful graph. So, but we will see some of them. We will not demonstrate all of them because they're not needed. Most of them are self tried out. You can always try on your own. But whatever is basics, essentials, I'm going to demonstrate in step 7. So with that, we move on to the last step called providing explanations, or in other words, it is also called report writing. So why should we provide explanations? After finding all your output, or after all the results presented, you have to give an explanation for why the results are as they are, what is happening in the field, why the patients are feeling like this, like that. If you want to find an answer, this is what we call providing explanations. You have to give reasons, you have to give rationales, you have to support your answers. You cannot simply give your own answers. Your answer must have scientific reasoning. That's why the design of logic comes in the picture again. And not only that, you would also use the relevant knowledge in step 2. From there, you can pick up some others' views on your findings. They also might have found something similar like you have done. So you can give justifications of their own. You can give your own justifications. You can also interact with the practicing managers to say that you find out that why results as they are. Since they are practicing for so long, experts, they'll be able to give you reasons. You can give those, you can explain the reasons in this report. That's why report writing is so crucial. And what we will learn here is we'll see various types of reports. In fact, there are called technical reports and popular reports. Technical reports and popular reports. Technical reports are something like you would do in your internship, or before internship, or after internship. you're supposed to submit a technical report, and technical report is also called a research report. So we'll see elaborately what are they in one of the presentations, followed by the popular reports. That's the second category. We'll see more elaborately. Popular reports, by the word popular, they are very popular, popularly read. So people like to read popular reports because they are like storytelling, or they are inventing, they are novel, or they are causing sensation. So people would like to read anything sensational like novels, news reports, newspapers, magazines. They all carry popular report messages. So whereas in technical report, the readers are very few because of the technical background. Only then they can read them. Whereas popular reports are very popular. Can you club both of them? Very tough challenge. Using popular format for technical reports is a very challenging. One or two out of 100 would learn to do that. And then what we will see, writing styles in this topic. Everybody's writing is different. I have seen that over these years, last 30 years. Every time I'm correcting answer scripts of the students, I would know that. Definitely. Reason is for the same question, all students have different style of presenting their answer. Why? It's because we are so unique, individualistic in our writing styles. But there are certain standard writing styles. Because research is systematic, we must know what are called the standard writing styles. So we will see in this step what are those writing styles internationally adopted, and then how to make presentation of your research report. There are two ways of doing presentation. One is presenting it in the form of a print, then the other one is before the audience. Prepare a PowerPoint slide and give a presentation to them. So how to present your research output to the audience is going to be our discussions in this step. And then, of course, we are coming to the end of the this step. So with that, I will pause for a while, and then I think it's also time we should refresh on those slides once again. Just to refresh. Just to refresh on the slides, I think it's visible to you. So step one is called selection of a topic. Step two is assessing relevant and existing knowledge, which helps us to have a fine-tuned understanding about our topic. And then step three is formulate concepts out of your existing knowledge and try to identify some select concepts for your research, highlighting your topic. And then also formulate prepositions, that means assume relationship between the concepts, and then followed by fine tuning your prepositions, which results in hypothesis. So if preposition is only an assumption of relationship between two concepts, hypothesis is an assumption of relationship between these two concepts with a direction, followed by the design of research, which is called the backbone of the entire research work. Research design is also called blueprint. Research design is also called the framework of research work, or the detailed plan of research work, followed by how to acquire empirical data, which is step 5. It's a very crucial step. And then after acquiring empirical data, how to analyze and evaluate the data, either manually or using softwares. I will try partly manual methods also, because some students would like to know what is happening in the back end. Because the software will only show what is happening in the front end, but what is happening in the back end, it doesn't show. But I will try to demonstrate both of them. But our focus will be more on front end, because today you have so many softwares to simplify your life. And then lastly, that is called last step, step 8, or technically step 8, otherwise it is step 7, called report writing, or providing explanations and stating a new problem. So this is going to be very crucial, because if all these steps are systematically followed, I'm sure you can give a good report presentation. Before I discontinue the topic for today, I want to let you know that uh, even if one step is missed out, I don't think you can follow any of the remaining steps. I can bet on that, because of my experience, I'm telling you. Because every step is so crucial, I am demonstrating each step with connectivity. For example, tomorrow I'm going to start with step one called selection of a topic. It's not that easy, I know, as we say that, but how to select a topic, what are the universal practices? I'm going to show you each of them so elaborately. So that's it for today. If you have any questions, you can put them now. I'll go back to the live chat box. If you have any questions, you can raise them. Otherwise, we'll discontinue the topic. So I think you do not have any questions, so I'll discontinue the topic now. So assuming that you have understood the overview of the research process, so tomorrow we'll come back and then we'll start with step one called selection of the topic. So meanwhile, do some reading. I think we have good books in the library, but for the lack of access to the library, go to internet and find out. There may be some free books available or some PDF files available on research reports, research textbooks. In fact, there's one service called bookboon.com. You can even try that site because a lot of free books are available there. So you have to register there as a student and download them. So that's it for until tomorrow. So thank you so much for your patient listening, and I'm sorry about that technical issue. And I'm sure from tomorrow I will try to avoid all those technical glitches. So thank you very much once again, and take care.